And I'm gonna wait just a moment. So this workshop is something that I really love to do out in town locally. So whenever I go out and I teach people how to do this, so I figured I would go ahead and add a workshop to my YouTube channel. And salsa is really one of those, you know, things that people really like, you know, and why not make it probiotic that you can enjoy with chips? So let me get this focused here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so first things first, whenever we are fermenting something, we are going to be using a really good salt. If you don't have my book, I am author of the book, Bringing Back Bacteria. I tell you all about salt and the importance of it in wild fermentation. So salt is really the one that inhibits bad mold. So having a good salt is really key here. So definitely don't want to use Morton's unless it's like says on the ingredients on the back that all that is in it is sea salt. You got to make sure that there is no anti-caking agent in your salt. So just make sure you are very well aware of it, because your fermentation process probably won't go the same if it does. So I use a Redmond's Ancient Sea Salt. It has so many beautiful minerals in it. Pink Himalayan sea salt is great too. I just happened to find this and really love the flavor from this. So we're gonna go ahead and do the salsa with the tomatoes. And from my experience of working in the market, I have seen many people who can't really have a tomato. So for you, I am going to show you how to make a cucumber salsa with no tomato. So to get started, I'm going to be using pint jars. Just simple, small jars. Now, depending on how much you use, depends on the size of jar you are using, right? So we'll just use a little bit of common sense here. So this is my cucumber salsa, and this is the one I'm doing today. So obviously I needed more for this, right? So this took 1 cucumber to do for this big one. And for this big one of salsa, as you can see, it's not even completely full. No, it doesn't matter. You can totally, if you do want to fill it up, just make sure you leave room at the neck. Don't go above that neck there. That way it has a little bit of breathing room. We're gonna open these in just a minute. That way you can see what to expect from your ferment whenever you have fermented it. Now, a few key things that we do need to go over is in wild fermentation, we are allowing the natural yeast on the vegetables to ferment it and preserve it. Okay, so we don't need a starter culture. We don't need none of that crap. So what I would definitely recommend, I've already done it, is rinsing your vegetables in a salt solution. In my book, I recommend you doing that as well. There are scientific studies that have proven that if you use salt and soak your vegetables or fruits in like a little salt bath, it's just as effective as the vegetable wash at the market. So, and it's a lot cheaper. So something to think about, but I've already done that. And let's see, we'll go ahead and start chopping, and I'll just talk as I chop. So when it comes to how to cut things, it doesn't really matter. Now, considering I'm using such a small jar, I am just going to cut this onion in half. So if you want it chunky, do it chunky. If you don't want it chunky, do it fine. It really does not matter. Okay, you can still see my board. And whenever we do ferment it, you need to make sure that you keep that jar ferment away from direct sunlight. because it will change the temperature. I mean, think about it. If you go up on a hot day to a window where the sun's shining in, you're going to feel the temperature change from that, right? Most definitely. So, and it can definitely mess with your ferment. So I do not recommend that. You could put it in like a cabinet. I love to ferment on bookshelves because we have so many. Or on like my island, you know, it's typically covered in ferments. So you can't really go wrong. Just make sure you keep it out of that direct sunlight. Okay, so that's really all I'm gonna do with the onions. I have a bowl, I'm gonna put everything in. So, as long as they don't make me cry, we'll be good. All right, so we're just gonna put all of those in the bowl. And then just do a little layer of salt. Now, I'm not gonna give you a measurement because if I tell you just use 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon, I don't know how much vegetables you have, right? Whew, these onions starting to make me cry. So I always say in wild fermentation, unless you're making a brine, salt to taste. You do not need a brine when it comes to any of my recipes unless you're doing pickles. And I've even really found a way to do that with salt to taste. Okay, so when we're doing this salsa with the tomatoes, you do need like a little bit more tomato than say a pepper and onion, because you're gonna extract the juice from the tomatoes. That way we don't have to add any filtered water or anything like that. And say, for example, your first ferment doesn't go well. Well, it takes time. And you know, with bacteria being on the vegetable, there's bacteria in the air. The more you ferment, the more you're actually given you're kind of creating like a little community in your home. So of like really good bacteria. So whenever you are creating a space for fermentation and giving it the opportunity to have it, it's going to recognize it. It's going to be released into your air. And meaning the more you do it, the more you ferment, the more you're going to have good bacteria floating around in your kitchen, and the better your ferments will become. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. So if you have tried wild fermentation and it didn't work out, just know there is hope. Just keep doing it. Just keep on doing it. So no, it doesn't matter what type of tomato you use. Seedless would be great. I think these are Romas. Doesn't matter, you know. The only reason I say seedless, if you can, is that at the bottom of your ferment, you could have like maybe some seeds that might be a little bit hard after the fermentation process, but we're only fermenting this for like 3 days. So it's hot where I'm at, so it's just 3 days. If it is snowing outside where you are, 5 days. I'm just checking my comments here. Hey, John. Nice to see you. How to overcome acidity? Please help me with my question. So acidity. So you can get around that acidity level if you're not, you know, doing well with tomatoes and stuff. So like I said, I'm getting ready to show you how to do a cucumber salsa. Now, I don't measure the balance in these. There's just no point. Simply because we're doing a 3-day ferment. You know, if you want to get technical and, oh, I need the levels on a sauerkraut because I'm fermenting it for like 12 weeks, that might make a little more sense. But for something that only takes 3 days, and only 3 days, I would not worry about it. Just worry about the process. Got to think about it. Why are you doing this? Well, we're doing it to get the probiotics out, right? So that is the point. Okay. All right. so I'm gonna do another layer of salt here. We're just letting it sit. So another key function that your salt, you're very welcome, hon. Another key function that your salt does is in the fermentation process here, we're extracting water out of the vegetables, and salt does amazing at doing that. Okay, so I have garlic right here that I'm adding. So far I've added onions, tomato, bell pepper. Doesn't matter what kind of bell pepper, doesn't matter what kind of onions, just whatever you like. And if you have cilantro, add in cilantro. I don't have any cilantro at the moment. And I know a lot of people don't do cilantro because to them it tastes like soap. But yeah, I think garlic and onions does so much for this salsa that you could just really stick with that. All right. Now, not to mention, this is like one of my easier ferments, which is why I'm basically giving you the recipe out of my book for free, because it's an easy concept. Like, I want to help you. I want to help you get your guts right. You know, while fermentation is very essential in digestion, in improving digestion. So I have a hiatal hernia in my chest, and the doctor gave me a long time ago, my gastrologist gave me a medicine to speed up my digestion to help with that. And because, you know, it could create possibilities of heartburn for me as well, having that. But when you add probiotics to your diet, you don't get heartburn no more. You have fast digestion now, and it's just great. I also cured my irritable bowel disease, so I am here doing this. But to keep all of that intact, it's only cured if I continue it. You see what I'm saying? This is something I'll be doing for the rest of my life. And why not? It's all natural. What book? Okay, so I am author of the book Bringing Back Bacteria, My Guide to Fermentation for the Novice. You can find it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Walmart.com. And okay, all right. So since we're pretty much done with that, I've got such a little jar. Like I said, I'm not going to do no more than that. So this is what it looks like right now. There's no liquid floating at the bottom yet, right? All right. Salt to taste. Okay. Now with this being a little bit of amount, we won't need as much. So we are simply going to gently massage. We don't want to smash the tomatoes. This is not the point. We're just simply incorporating flavors together. Just a gentle, just like a gentle, you know, a gentle grab there, and just sort of take it around and do that. So my book is different than any fermentation book that you can find online, because my book is geared specifically for the novice. And you're not going to find an A to Z recipe book in it. No, I'm going to tell you the technique of fermentation. I give you a little bit of scientific studies behind it, and of course, some amazing recipes. So definitely check it out if you don't have it. I will have to post my link in the comment section for you there. Okay, so just kind of, you know, mash it around. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to taste it. And we're tasting the salt level. So it doesn't need to be salty, but it does need to have some salt. So if you oversalt it, you don't need to oversalt any of this, okay? Just, you're looking for how you normally salt foods. All right, and now we're gonna fill our jar. I will say, if you are extremely new to wild fermentation, a really good tip if you're worried about bad mold coming is get a cabbage leaf and just simply put it on top after we do this right here. Okay. All right, so we are at this point going to mash it down in our jar. And once we mash it down, I'm gonna try to get it on camera here. Once we mash this down, you're gonna see liquid rise. See that? See the liquid? All right, that's what you want. Keeping all the veg underneath that liquid is key. It is key to a successful ferment. Okay, now that I've got that done, I'm gonna put the lid on, maybe clean up the jar a little bit with my tomato hands. Okay. All right. She is ready to sit on the counter or in a dark cabinet in your kitchen or somewhere. Try to keep it out of like a very humid area. Like we don't want to put it near our stove. We don't want to put it in your washer dryer room because that dryer and washer is going to create like a very humid environment. You don't want that. You are sure to get mold if you do that. So fine, like I said, put it on your island. I do a bookshelf, it's just fine. And yeah, so we are going to ferment this for 3 days. Like I said, if you are somewhere right now where it is snowing, 5 days, you know, just watch it. And what are we looking for? All right, I've already got some fermented salsa to show you what you are looking for. All right, so you definitely want bubbles. It's really hard to see it. See those? It's almost like there's spaces in there. If you follow me on social media, you can definitely see the bubbles in all of my stuff that I do. You hear that? It sounded like a soda pop when you opened it. Oh, look at those bubbles now. So we've released all of the air out of it. This means congratulations, you got a probiotic salsa. Look how alive that bad boy is. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just a beautiful aroma. I can hear it. That's another key to knowing how, if you did it correctly, right? Is if you can hear it. It should sound like a soda. I don't know if you can hear it. But it's definitely alive in there. And the texture, the peppers are still a little crunchy, which it's what you want, but not overbearing. And it's got that good, what I call the fermentation bite. So this is exactly what it should look like. So now that it's fermented, what you're going to do is you're going to put it in the refrigerator. So this will stay in the refrigerator until you use it. Now, say, how do we use it? How do we eat with it, right? There's so many different ways that you can incorporate salsa into your diet. For one, you can just get like the tortilla chips and eat it like that. Or if you are busy, I have totally done this before. You're super busy on a weeknight and you say you want to make tacos or something, or you want to make an omelet or eat whatever, what have you. You need some onions, some peppers, and maybe some tomatoes. This is already done. This is already chopped up and ready. Put a tablespoon or like more tablespoons, however many you need, into your skillet and then cook whatever you're cooking. And it just comes back to being a regular veg. Is it probiotic? No, but it's one of those quick and easy accessible things, you know? So I definitely also use it in that way. You could use this in like an egg salad, chicken salad, on top of a regular bed of salad is a really good one. Of course, on top of tacos. So if you are new to probiotics, I wouldn't eat more than half of a cup. just because we don't, it's kind of like beans. If you've never eaten beans and you're trying to change your diet, well, you know, hey, I probably shouldn't eat like a 2 bowls of beans, right? You're obviously going to be feeling it. You're going to be gassy. Your stomach might hurt. So think of probiotics and ferments like how you would address beans in that manner. Your body will have to adjust to it. But once it gets adjusted, you can certainly bump up and eat more. Now, this is great, especially for when you get sick. You know, one thing I hear so often, there's so much bad information out there on fermentation. So if you guys have any questions, please drop them in and I will answer them for you. I do so many workshops locally here. I figured I would just do one for free online for you guys who are not local to me. So I forgot what I was saying. So anyway, once this is fermented, put it in the fridge. Certainly, you know, you can have more the more you get used to it. Oh yeah, I was talking about being sick. There we go. So many people will say, oh, I need a fire cider because I'm sick. That's the only probiotic I need while being sick. That is totally wrong. Like, for one, apple cider vinegar, look at the studies. Go check them out. Go Google them. It's really hard on your gut microbiome, for one. For two, it's hard on your throat. Okay? So food for thought. I know that can create a little bit of controversy there. So what do you do then? Well, just eat them every day. You know, if you're first starting out, maybe start with like having it like 3 times a week and then up from there. But yeah, if you keep probiotics in your stomach, what's going to happen is we all have bacteria in our guts, right? We have the opportunity with each meal that we eat to create what I call good soldiers or bad soldiers. Okay? And so when we eat something, say we go to McDonald's, do you think the good soldiers are going to be getting fed nutritious food? Absolutely not. Your stomach is creating more of the bad soldiers. And so they're going to kind of knock down the good guys, and then your immunity will over time get knocked down, and before you know it, you're getting sick. Now, if you continue having ferment food weekly, what's going to happen is you're going to have a huge influx of the good guys come in and outweighing the bad. And you're going to notice that you don't get as sick as often, right? Take, for example, one time my husband came home with a really bad stomach bug. The first thing I did is I went and I ate a half of a jar, like a half of one of these, ate half of a sauerkraut to get that vitamin C, those probiotics, the prebiotics, to get it all in me. And I didn't get sick. And then my kids got it. And then throw up, I'm cleaning up, throw up. Not one time did I get it. Now, is that to say that you're not going to get sick ever again? No, of course not. That doesn't mean that. I'm just saying, you know, when it comes to like those nasty stomach viruses, it's really good for that. How long can I keep it after the ferment is ready? Great question. So your ferments are good in the refrigerator for up to 12 months. So don't even worry about it. Hopefully it doesn't stay in your fridge that long, right? It's because we want to eat it weekly and then work up to maybe even daily, you know? All right, so let me move this aside and we will do the cucumber salsa now. Okay, yes, I'm using the same bowl because I love tomatoes. It's fine. All right, so for the cucumber, you need a cucumber. All right, so you totally do not have to peel this cucumber. In fact, I recommend kind of leaving a little bit of skin on there. It just, if you enjoy like that kind of crunch, you know, but I'm just gonna kind of just do a little bit, make it kind of spirally, not too much. Yeah, something like that, you know. Yeah, you know, that way it's kind of cute, you know. When I look at it in the jar, I want to see cute. But it, you know, not, you don't have to. All right, so no special way to cut this, but I just start from the top, go down the middle, and quarter it like that, and then I'm going to do it again this way. Whoop, that way. All right, I'm just going to take it on down. See, now I have 4. Then we're going to keep them together, and then I'm just going to chop them that way. Now, again, same for the salsa. You can chop this as fine as you like or as chunky as you like. I don't recommend going too fine with the cucumber though. And as far as the seeds, like definitely try to get one that doesn't have as many seeds in it in case it's really hot for you and the seeds may get a little hard during the process. They don't bother me, but you know, we're all different, so. All right, now that I've got my cucumbers in here, what are we gonna do next? You're correct, salt. Just put a layer of salt on them. Okay, and you can add whatever you want. So I'm gonna add a bell pepper. So does it always have to, do ferments always have to be in a glass jar? I suppose any plastic jar is not good as it might leak microplastics. You would be correct. I talk about that in my book. I don't ferment anything in plastic. And I've seen people, because you know I ferment, teach people how to make sodas too. Like, and I've seen people do it in 2-liter bottles. I wouldn't even do that. Like, no, just stay away. Stick with the mason jar. Plus, when you stick with the mason jars, like it's easier to store in the fridge, you know? It doesn't take up as much space. So definitely I would not. But to each their own, you know? All right, so here we go with the pepper, bell pepper. Oh, and if you guys want to add in jalapenos, go for it. I totally forgot to buy one to have a little kick to it. Okay. You guys are asking great questions. All right, so the same principle is going to go for this cucumber salsa. I'm not selling this, I'm eating this, I can touch my hair. So it's the same principle on how we ferment it. Not in direct sunlight, on a counter, on a bookshelf. You get the gist now, right? And you can pretty much do anything with these principles. But like I tell everybody, if you're new to fermentation, start with something like this first. That way you get the feel of it. And then you'll get it from there. Okay, all right. I'm gonna add half an onion. And so like if you like a ton of garlic, use a lot. So this is really, you can see how this is really based on your preferences. You know, spice it up, spice it down, you know, you could do either. All right, I do try to chop the onions a little bit smaller. Okay. I did already have them peeled and cut a little bit just to save a little bit of time on here. Because I know some of you are going to go back and watch this. That wasn't able to make my live. All right. All right. Thought I had a, yeah, I got a little piece of garlic, so I'm going to put garlic in this one. Now, if you don't like garlic, don't use garlic. But did you know garlic and onions are a probiotic? So, yeah. Just like beans, they're good for your gut. And I know not everyone can tolerate onions or maybe the garlic, you know. So maybe if you wanted to use a sweet onion, definitely feel free to do that. All right. Just a little bit of salt to taste, right? That's what it looks like. So we have garlic, cucumber, I have a purple onion, green bell pepper. Okay, so I came up with this recipe because one year in my garden I had grew so many cucumbers. I mean, it was insane. Like, I was flooded, and I'm like, you can only make so many fermented pickles, I guess, and you just kind of get pickled out, and then, or eating them, in a Greek salad like I would. So this is how I got this. I'm like, hey, let's make a salsa out of it, because especially whenever I'd work at the market and I would sell my fermented food, I came across a lot of people who couldn't eat tomatoes, which I never really heard of that, but apparently it's a thing. So I was like, yeah, looky here, got this. Now this one is a little bit different because we don't have the tomatoes to give it all that extra juice, right? So we are going to have to do a little modification on this one, meaning you're going to need some filtered water or spring water, or if you have well water. I don't recommend you using tap for any fermented food or ferments that you're trying to ferment. Don't recommend it. Now, with all my ferments, I mash them in. Just a slight little mash there. And I stay below this line. See that jar lid line? Stay below it. Okay, and I got my filtered water. And we are going to make sure that the water level goes above the vegetables. Now, I have been fermenting for so long that a lot of times, I will ferment this, and I will, like, some of the veg will be hanging on top, and it still doesn't mold. But I've been doing this a long time, so the better you get at it, maybe that will work for you as well. All right, so this is it. This is the cucumber salsa. So many beautiful colors. And same principle, we're gonna keep these guys on the counter for 3 days, 5 if it's snowing where you are. I live in a very hot, humid climate, so 3 days, she's done. And like you saw when I opened the salsa, how you know it's okay is if lots of bubbles, you hear it like a soda. Now, you might come across one that you do that isn't exactly as active, and you didn't hear the pop like you heard with mine. Just keep at it. Keep at it. You will get better with it, okay? Now, let's go over, I am going to open the cucumber one, but I do want to quickly cover like sanitary issues, like how do you clean your jars? Stick with the basics. Run it through the dishwasher or simple hand washing. Do not use bleach for anything, okay? This is not a scientific laboratory, and we do want the wild bacteria, okay? So don't use don't use Clorox on anything, okay? All right, so this is already fermented cucumbers, and I had over fermented these, so these fermented for like 4 days, 5 days. It's really hard to open. Hang on, let me dry my hands. I'm trying to get it so you can hear it. I'm gonna break my wrist, hang on. I don't know if you heard it, but let's see if I can get these bubbles on camera. All right, so all the bubbles rushing to the top, as you can see. That tells you everything is correct. You can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it. Amazing. 10 out of 10. So if you are new to fermentation, I think these are really great beginners. Like your salsas, this is a exceptional way to start your fermentation process. Let me see the comments here. What could be the reasons a ferment would fail? Say, well, like I was talking about earlier, a lot of times if you're new, you kind of really got to introduce this bacteria into your home, right? So I've had a lot of people say, hey, I did all the steps correctly and it's still molded, and you know, you're gonna know, use your senses, use your eyes. White mold, throw it out. We don't want that. That is not the bacteria lactobacillus that we're looking for, okay? So maybe you have it in the wrong place. So when people come to me or DM me and say, hey, I did this and this, but look at it, and they'll send me a picture and it just did not turn out right. It wasn't really bubbly. At this point, you need to find out what is a good fermenting spot for you in your home. And this is going to be different for everyone. Because say, for example, if you have a wood stove in your home, well, the temperature wherever your wood stove is going to be a drastic change from the rest of your home. So if you have a house like that, I have central heating and air, so I can really kind of place it anywhere. But if you do not, well, yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a problem. But you can just try to find the place in your home that is really the coolest, because you don't want it obviously in that same room as the wood stove or anything like that, because it will make it over ferment and ferment too quickly, which could result in maybe soggy food, you know, soggy salsa. We don't want soggy. So yeah, so definitely check out the ferment spot that is right for you in your home. Let's see, what are the questions I got? Make peanut masala. Ooh, I love Indian food. That does sound good. Is it too bad to eat too much of a ferment at the same time? So like I was saying earlier, if you are used to having probiotics, if you're used to having beans, I would say you're okay. Your gut is kind of used to the high content of probiotics, right? So beans are really good. Beans actually ferment in our gut as well. And your microbiome actually loves it. So if you can handle eating beans, I eat beans every day on top of probiotics, and I am not gassy. I don't have any of those issues, but I've been doing this a long time. So if you want to, if you're new, start out with half a cup, you know, measure it out. Or if you're really nervous it's going to take too much on your gastrointestinal system, then do a couple tablespoons and just fill it out. And then if you feel fine, you know, go back and have some more. So really just play it by ear on how you feel, and when you eat it is basically what I would do. That's what I tell everybody. So if there's not any more questions, I am going to hop off here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I'm so happy that I can bring this to you. I love wild fermentation, and if you would like me to do more workshops on a different ferment, let me know. Let me know in the comments, because, you know, helping people with their guts is very essential. Let's see. So yogurt is a probiotic, but we got to talk about yogurt for a second, right? It depends on the type of yogurt you're eating. If you're eating like the sugar-laden yogurt with a whole bunch of sugar, you know, I wouldn't do that. So it's not really gut healthy at that point, if that makes any sense. If you're having like a plain yogurt, like I make tzatziki sauce because I eat Mediterranean food, so that is exceptional. That is great. That is perfect. Yes, continue it. I think the way we eat the yogurt is great. A lot of Indian food causes for plain yogurt, so as long as you are cool with like the plain and no sugar, I would say go for it. Definitely. But just remember, whenever these are done fermenting, they go into the refrigerator and they stay there, okay? Until you use it and then put it back. Because what's gonna happen if you don't put it in the refrigerator, it's just going to continue fermenting at that point. And then you don't want an over ferment. I mean, it'll just taste bad. Too sour to eat, you know? You are very welcome. I love answering people's questions, and I really appreciate you being here with me on the live. So thank you very much. And thank you so much for everyone else who will be watching this in the future. I really appreciate all of you. Again, my name's Jamie, and I am author of the book, Bringing Back Bacteria, My Guide to Fermentation for the Novice. So don't forget to grab that at Amazon.com, Walmart.com, or BarnesandNoble.com. If you're not following me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, please follow me at Wild and Artfully Me. And I also have a podcast. So if you want to learn more or a little bit more about fermentation, definitely check out the podcast because I go pretty deep on there. All right, I will see you guys later.